Hello and welcome back, dear friends, at Lit eCity YouTube channel where we discuss some important topics related with UGC NET English. In our present episodes, we are going to deal some important questions that matter for coming exam, and we will handle 25 advanced level MCQs on cultural studies. Dear friends, keep in mind that all these questions have been prepared looking at the recent trends in NTA paper. So here comes our first question. A term introduced by John Fiske and John Hartley to emphasize the active and productive signifying work done by television. Dear friends, before I give you options, remember that John Fiske is most important name to be remembered while we have discussions on television studies. So here are our options: A. Television culture, B. Bardic function, C. Televised ideology, and fourth one is Sage function. Out of these four, John Fiske and Hartley used this particular term to describe the great impact and very important role played by television after 80s, during 90s, and in 20th century, in 21st century also. Dear friends, the term here they are talking about is bardic function. Our next question is, who described the plights of migrants in oft-quoted sentence, migration is a one-way trip, in the famous essay Minimal Selves. Now this Minimal Selves is an earlier work of this great cultural theorist, and this famous line, migration is a one-way trip, means those who migrate from one place to another, there is very little chance that they can come back to their native land. Even when they come back, they are no more the natives, they are the returned migrated person. So who made this remark? Was it Stuart Hall? Second is V.S. Naipaul. Third one is Franz Fanon, and the last one is Hannah Arendt. Dear friends, all these four intellectuals, four writers, they have been migrants in their life, but this particular statement, migration is a one-way trip, is made by none other than Stuart Hall. Our third question is, the Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies, CCCS. You all must know about this particular center. We basically give credit to this center which inaugurated different phases of cultural studies. It was established at Birmingham University in 1964. Now our question is, in which year it was closed? Our options are, is it in 1979, in 2002, 2015, and 1993. These are the four options. Dear friend, one year 1979 is also important because in this year Stuart Hall, who was the second director of this particular institute, his directorship ends. But the right answer that it ended, it was close to the dismay of its followers. It was in 2002. The style of writing that blends fact and fiction, ethnographic observation, literary theory, and memoir, and moves back and forth between personal and academic convention. So it's a, we can say, a pastiche kind of a style in which so many different literary genres are mixed. What is the name for this particular style of writing? Is it fictocriticism? Second is gonzo journalism. Third is field research. And fourth is écriture. All these terms are related somehow from one angle to other to the particular, or we can say a different style of writing. Our options are only first fictocriticism, only fourth écriture, both first and second fictocriticism and gonzo journalism, and both first and third fictocriticism, and field research. Dear friends, it is both first and second. Fictocriticism and gonzo journalism is that particular style in which a writer, while writing personal anecdotes or while writing some, we can say, totally autobiographical, non-academic thing, he uses the convention of academic writing like footnotes, like bibliography. So it's a, we can say, it blends fact and fiction. Our next question is, who introduced the concept of grounded aesthetics to denote the act of consumption by common people using symbolic relativity to make sense of the social world? So this grounded aesthetics is actually about, not about the high world of the art, but the daily, day-to-day world of common people, in which they consume particular symbolic qualities of a society, and thus participating, making sense of the social world in which they live, in which they move. Our options are Paul Willis, second one is Theodore Adorno, third one is Ernesto Laclau, and the last one is Raymond Williams. They all have worked about the consumer culture, about the we can say, capitalist trends. But it was Paul Willis who, in his book Notes on Common Culture Towards a Grounded Aesthetics, used this term to denote the common man's experience of participating in capitalist culture. Our next question, dear friend, is, which among the following statements is not true regarding archaeology? Now, archaeology is one of key concepts by Foucault. It is an analytical tool for uncovering alternative histories of systems of knowledge. Michel Foucault basically emphasizes that history or discourse is the dominance version of his particular events, but archaeology tries to uncover the hidden, the ignored histories of the time. Second is, it is a synchronic analysis of discourses in a specific episteme, while genealogy, we can say a related term, it denotes their diachronic reconstruction. So when we study them in a synchronic manner means taking past, present, future at the similar level, then it becomes archaeology. But if we take a particular incident, it becomes genealogy. Third is, it holds man, rather discourses, as its object of study. It means that at the center of the study is the quest to know about man, and the last one is, it analyzes discourses in condition of their emergence and transformation rather than in their deeper meaning. So the interpretative exercise is about the roundabout experience of that particular event. Out of these four statements, dear friends, the third one is obviously incorrect because it holds discourse as the object of study and ignores man. This is all about archaeology. Our next question is, defining authority as a legitimate form of domination, Max Weber distinguished three main types of authority. Which among the following is not the one mentioned by him? I added this mentioned by him because there are other thinkers related with the concept of authority who have added some more factors which were not originally considered by Max Weber. So is it traditional source? Second is charismatic. Third is legal or rational source. And fourth one is intellectual or professional source. All these are for Max Weber. Out of these four, three are sources of authority. A person can achieve authority and then become dominant by having either any one of these or a combination of these. Dear friends, Max Weber has talked about traditional, charismatic and legal or rational sources of authority. So it is intellectual and professional authority on which he hasn't given his views. Which of the following journals was started by Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies in 1972? Once again, a question on CCCS. It is a very important topic, point you must prepare for the exam. So it is International Journal of Cultural Studies. Is it Journal of Peasant Studies, Working Papers in Cultural Studies, or Social Media and Society? All these four are legitimate journals, are concerned with cultural studies, but the one started by Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies was Working Papers in Cultural Studies, known also as WPCS. In reference to the conflicting voices of a text may have conflicting voices which differ from the voice of the author. FREDRIC JAMESON coined this term to denote the smallest intelligible unit of the essentially antagonistic collective discourse of the social class. So essentially antagonist from the author or from the dominant point of view, this is the smallest intelligible unit. Is it ideology? Is it deathlessness? Is it heterogene? Or is it neo-episteme? Out of these four terms, first two, ideology and depthlessness, are associated with FREDRIC JAMESON, but the smallest intelligible unit according to him is ideology. Which among these is a quantitative research method used in social science to examine the subject matter of media texts, film, art, music, and other cultural products. So it is actually a question belonging to both cultural studies and research methodology. A quantitative research method in which data is collected regarding how media text, film, art, and music affect behavior. Is it content analysis, survey research, descriptive research, or correlational analysis? These four are different research methods, especially used in social sciences, but the one related with media text, film, art, music is content analysis. With respect to the concept of cultural capital as proposed by Philip Bourdieu, which among these is not a source of cultural capital? Once again, Philip Bourdieu has discussed about different sources of cultural capital. Is it objective, embodied, symbolic, or institutionalized? Out of these four, dear friend, it is the symbolic value of cultural capital which Bourdieu doesn't discuss. Coined by the band, a rock band, Negative Land, in 1984 to denote practices, social practices, pop culture practices, mob practices to disrupt the corporate and the commercial exploitation of public spaces. What is the term? Is it culture jamming? Is it culture vulture, culture rapping, or culture rupture? Actually, Negative Land, the band coined this term, but it became a race among the people of later 80s and 90s, and it was used for in a lot of sense for demonstrations, for protest, and thus showing their, we can say, disagreement with the corporate practices, how they acquire and dominate public spaces. Dear friend, the term is culture jamming. Coined by Gilbert Ryle and made popular by Clifford Geertz, this term is used to describe interpretive writing that provides cultural context and meaning people place on actions, words, things. So they have enough context outside the culture to make the meaning of behavior. It means that this particular term describe our making sense of a particular action, word, but making that sense in a particular cultural context. So is it thin description, thick description, deep description, or vertical description? Dear friends, it is used by Clifford Geertz in his theory of thick description, which is not about the interpretation of the direct action, word or thing, but the contextual study and interpretation, so that a person can understand the reason behind that particular behavior. The concept of flaneur, the casual wanderer among the street, observer, reporter of the street life in modern life, is most famously associated with: first option is Charles Baudelaire, second is Claude Lévi-Strauss, third one is Walter Benjamin, and the last one is Edward Said. Out of these four, there are two critics with whom, two, we can say, thinkers or intellectual with whom the concept of flaneur is associated. Both first and second, Baudelaire and the Strauss, both first and third, Baudelaire and Benjamin, only third Benjamin, and Baudelaire and Edward Said. Dear friend, it is first and third. It was first used by Charles Baudelaire in his poems regarding a person who is restless, wandering the street and commenting upon the life. It was then taken by Walter Benjamin in the modern sense in placing this concept in Marxist universe, with whom the concept of deterritorialization, the process by which a social territory loses its current organization, deterritorialization. So that is why the territory is lost, and who are the critic who have given this concept? Is it Franz Fanon, Edward Said, Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, or Gilles, Deleuze and Félix Guattari? Out of these four, it was the work of these two, Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari, who basically forwarded and proposed the sense of deterritorialization, in which a person basically, a social construction, an organization related with land, it is totally altered and changed. Which of the following statements with respect to the concept of doxa? Doxa is a Latin term and it was used quite as early as from Plato, but we have to find out what is the implication of doxa as used by Philip Bourdieu. Doxa is a set of rules in a particular field that define what is thinkable and sayable. You can say it is the authentic version. Second is, Plato distinguished between episteme, which is superior knowledge, and doxa, which is inferior knowledge based on opinions of common public. It refers to the tendency of every society to naturalize aspect of its own established order, considering them only truthful version, or we can say only versions of truth which are valid. Doxa is always in contrast with orthodoxy that tries to rupture it. Dear friends, it is obviously the last one, which is not correct, because doxa is the base on which orthodoxy is constituted. So doxa is always in accordance with orthodoxy. Please remember all these options and try to figure out the complete concept of doxa. Deleuze and Guattari, in their seminal work, A Thousand Plateaus, redefine the Western concept of people's relationship to the land which they inhabit, which term is used by them to denote the concept of land not owned by individual. They have taken a survey of this world and find out that there are huge areas in this world which are not owned by individual, and the areas like other continents like Europe and America and Asia, which are perfectly administrated by the government and societies. What is the difference between these two particular areas? So the term is sedentary, nomad, migrant, or despot. Out of these four, three terms, sedentary, nomad, and despot, are used by Deleuze and Guattari in their discussion about this land, but the word they use is nomad. And they use it for the people, taken from the people living in desert, in which they don't have any land. They move easily from one place to another without the sense of belongingness. So this is particular word used, this particular analogy or metaphor is used by them. The French term jouissance has been used by thinkers of different schools in various ways. Which of the following one is the meaning derived by Julia Kristeva? Jouissance is an erotic ecstasy similar to the death drive found in the domain of the real. Textual bliss in reading such text which disrupts expectation and challenges the reader to participate. The feminine libidinal drive repressed by the symbolic order and art is the flow of jouissance into language. A sight of two-dimensional pleasure, corporeal, meaning related with body, and spiritual, which can be felt through different parts of body. These four are four definitions or four ways in which the concept of jouissance has been used by, especially by French writers. First let us know about the answer. It is Julia Kristeva. According to Julia Kristeva, the feminine libidinal drive is jouissance. The first one is given by Lacan. The second one is by Barthes, and the last one is by Helen Sizu. So all these, try to remember all these four definitions. To describe how discipline works to produce individuals who act within the interest of power, Foucault used the term panopticon, from which philosopher he borrowed the concept and this term. Was it Plato, Jeremy Bentham, Thomas Hobbes, or Voltaire? Dear friends, we all know that Foucault used panopticon, in which a dominant society controls the individual sense of belonging, but originally it was used by Jeremy Bentham, who devised a plan of prisons through which a central tower can keep vigilance on a circular cells in which prisoners live. A powerful contribution to the theory of ideology, the sublime object of ideology, is a critique of the notion that it is possible to escape ideology and rejection of a substantial individual subject. Who is the author? Now, this particular critic has rejected all the, we can say, post-structuralist, especially critics like Theodore Adorno and Raymond Williams' concept that it is possible by human beings to escape ideology. This particular neo-Marxist think that no, it's not possible. Is it Ernesto Laclau, Chantal Mouffe, Slavoj Žižek, and Richard Rorty? All these are, we can say, the important names in the current or neo-Marxist theory. This particular book, The Sublime Object of Ideology, is authored by Slavoj Žižek. Transculturation is the concept used to describe the merging of different cultural elements, a complex process of mutual cultural adjustments resulting from colonial interaction between the colonizer and the colonized cultures. Who coined the term? Bronislaw Malinowski, J.W. Paul Gilroy, or Fernando Ortiz. Now, dear friends, there is a slight difference between two terms, transculturation and acculturation. Transculturation means both colonizer and colonized affect each other, while acculturation is colonized, we can say, adaptation of the culture of the colonizer. The correct answer is Fernando Ortiz. Bronislaw Malinowski, he has coined this term acculturation. Freud used this term to describe our experiences in adulthood that remind us of early psychic stages, the aspect of our unconscious life, the primitive experiences of human species, which return when we become adult. Is it uncanny, displacement, pleasure principle, or sublimation? Dear friend, it is uncanny, which is basically we can coming back of our unconscious life in the conscious life. Hegemony and Socialist Strategy tries to assert that the discursive conflicts by which contending parties try to achieve hegemony explain values better than social structures do. Who is or are the author or authors of this path-breaking work? Ernesto Laclau and Chantal Mouffe, Slavoj Žižek and Chantal Mouffe and Jürgen Habermas, and Ernesto Laclau and Slavoj Žižek. Ernesto Laclau, Chantal Mouffe, and Slavoj Žižek. All these three have worked in collaboration, supporting each other's argument, but this particular book is written by Laclau and Mouffe. The whole is the untrue is one of the most popular phrases from the book Minima Moralia, a harsh critique of capitalist society. Who is the author? Is it Theodor Adorno, Max Horkheimer, Herbert Marcuse, or Ernest Bloch? Dear friends, the whole is the untrue is considered to be the epitome of this critic's whole critical discussion. It is none other than Theodor Adorno. And the last question for the day, which of the following pairs of a book, essay, and the writer is not correctly matched? Is it Arguments Within English Marxism by Perry Anderson, The Party of Theory by E.P. Thompson, The Gift by Derrida, and The Author as Producer by Walter Benjamin? Dear friends, all these are very important and popular books, but one is not correctly matched, and that is The Gift, which is actually written by Marcel Mauss. So with this, we come to the end of this enthralling session of 25 advanced level MCQs. Please keep watching other videos related with cultural studies on this particular topic at Lit ECT YouTube channel. Keep supporting and keep giving me inputs regarding on which topic we should make our videos. Thank you, dear friends.